Although Lisa and Bill eat healthily, their portion control is out of control. So they'll be going on a fasting 5-2 diet of 1,500 calories, reducing to 500 calories on 2 days a week.
Mum and Dad are really going to struggle with their 500 calorie days, definitely. I have way more than 500 calories a day and that's a good day.
But you really do have to stick with it.
Yeah.
Like no chocolates, Mum. I'm being serious though, because you do have like Twixes upstairs. She does love the occasional twirl. So Lisa, like, she needs to stop.
But listen to this. This is the worst. No alcohol.
You're now listening to a Bobby Johnson.
Hey, my main bitch and my savage man, bitch. I can get too far. Rather hold me up on each pink. I need to go.
Tune in to Too Much Media.
Okay, hey guys, welcome back to my channel, where we discuss all things creative, where we discuss, just how to improve yourself if you're a creative person and you're pursuing a lot of different, things. You might be a serial entrepreneur, you might be a fashion designer, you might be a musician, you might be, an athlete, there's an art to athleticism too. So it's just like whatever you do, but if you would just consider yourself a creative person and you're just trying to elevate and continue to improve wherever your journey is taking you, this is the channel for you. We're trying to build a community of other creative people who just want to discuss things more in depthly, and like they just like like the type of people who just having a base layer conversation about things just doesn't scratch the itch. Like you just want to go more in depth in the conversation, more in depth in the topic. And I feel like YouTube is the perfect place for things like that, because YouTube is where you get long-term content. The people who are not as creative or just more like love fast fashion, fast this, fast pace, all that, like just junk versions of everything. Y'all be on TikTok, y'all be on Instagram, y'all be on all those other apps. YouTube is where the people who like to sit and dive in really are. So we're just trying to build a community on this channel of those types of people. So make sure you are liking, doing some sort of engagement, commenting, just engage with the channel, because it'll naturally just fall all to people who have like a similar mindset. And the right people will find this channel. People who are not supposed to be here, they'll tune out quickly. So bye y'all. But yeah, today we're going to be discussing fat mentality. We're going to talk about fat mentality because it's a thing I coined a couple months ago and I had lightly brought up. But I just discovered this documentary on YouTube called It's Your Fault I'm Fat, and I thought it was so interesting. And it was just about these teenagers who are really big, like severely obese, and they're basically confronting the parents of like, this is your fault that I'm fat, and I want you to help me lose the weight. And it's like, I feel like this was a good case study to dive into what exactly is fat mentality. Because I did go into it a little bit, but it's just like, because I'm kind of making it up myself, and I'm like kind of trying to make you understand that being fat is not like a state of being, but a state of thinking. Like I need to kind of go more like in depth into what I mean by this, so that you're not just quick to judge or quick to think that you don't have that mentality, because you might be in a technically healthy weight category, but still have that mentality things that could be seeping into other creative parts of endeavors in your life. You know what I'm trying to say? So this is not only just for fat people. This is for anybody who's trying to push forward and elevate and self-master themselves and doesn't understand what certain mental spaces could be holding them back. Especially in the time of day we live in right now, we're not very educated on what things breed fat mentality, what things are really getting us to that level. Like, I made this example in the last video, but I'm going to say it again. It's like, think about how many people who live abroad, like live in like Europe, come from Africa, come from a third world countries, India, Asia, all these countries, and when they lived in their country, they were super thin, super fit. The minute they get to America, they gain a bunch of weight, and they can never get it off. That isn't because they're inherently just like they were just greedy and fat and like whatever it is. No, they had that mentality when they lived in those countries too. And they didn't just change their mentality when they got to America. They're trying to eat probably in a similar way than when they were eating in their country. But because they have that mentality, they didn't understand that the access now to so much food, to so much this, like having over access of things and thinking you need to take in all of that, that's fat mentality. But you know, when you're deprived in like a third world country, like now having access to so much, you're gonna of course kind of have stars in your eyes and think you need more than you do. It's because you have fat mentality now that you come from being so deprived. Do you see what I'm trying to say? So it's like your environment can allow you to be fit even if you have that mentality. Okay? Or maybe you're super poor. You never had money in your family, so you were always thin. But now you're getting older and you're making your own money, and now you're gaining a bunch of weight. It's because you have that mentality, but before you didn't have the money to be fat. So you can have that mentality and not be fat. So that's why I think it's such an important thing to go over and to make people understand what fat mentality is so that you don't fall susceptible. Now, in episode 2, we followed this girl, and her name was, oh no, why do I not remember her name? I'm going to put her name on the screen, but it doesn't really matter. But we followed this girl, and she lives in a family where she's overweight. Both of her parents are overweight. They're not as overweight as she is, but then her sister, her older sister, is fat and she's not. And no, is not fat and she is. And I thought this was a really good one to go over because it breeds that question too of like, why is it that sometimes only one sibling is fat or only one sibling is skinny and all the other siblings are fat? Like, why is it in some families some of the family members are fat and some are not? And I think that that is a great example of fat mentality. It's not because, oh, the family is just genetically fat, or it's not because, oh, like, you guys are all eating the same meals. You guys are all going to the same places, doing the same things. How come some of y'all are fat and some of y'all aren't? It's because some of you guys have fat mentality and some of you guys don't. And I felt like this episode was such a good prime example of showing how the sister was able to not have that mentality. Like somehow, some way, she just had an inherent understanding of fat mentality and not having it that her parents couldn't put it into her. Her sister's ways couldn't get it into her. She just understood, you know. Whereas everyone else in the family had that mentality, and so they were all fat, you know. I'm not going to go into their weight this time because I don't remember. And obviously they did switch over to trying to have a healthy lifestyle and ended up improving things. But I'm not going to talk about any of the good stuff they did. So it might seem like I'm just bashing this family, but it's because we need to go over the problematic points. We don't need to go over the good points. Once you know the problematic points, you'll know what to do good. You know, it's better to focus on what things are keeping you in fat mentality. Okay. So when we meet the family, she confronts them and everything like that, and they all start this health journey. One thing that they were mentioning throughout the episode that was a really big deal to the daughter was that when they were kids, the parents used to always hide all the sweets in another room. So they had like a closet or some sort of area where they would lock away sweets to keep it away from the kids because they said that the kids, every time that they left the sweets out, would eat all of it so quickly, like it would be gone quicker than it was supposed to be, and then therefore they needed to lock it away to make sure like they were keeping track of how much sweets that the kids were having. And they were like, and both of the kids said this, the skinny daughter and the fat one, of like, you guys locking away the sweets made us want it more. Like now, because it's this whole taboo thing of you're locking away the sweets, we're always trying to find sweets wherever we think it's some big treat. And that was such a good point that they made, because that is super fat mentality. Hiding sweets and hiding food because you don't have self-control of how much of it you're going to eat is fat mentality. You should be able to have sweets around you and not eat it. And although the parents were claiming that the reason that they were keeping the sweets away was because the kids were eating it excessively. I don't feel as though that they would eat it excessively if the parents were showing them how to eat sweets. Of like, I think that the parents were using them as a scapegoat of why they hid sweets, because the parents are big too. So it's like, if you guys didn't have a problem with sweets, like clearly they're not the only ones eating sweets. You guys clearly have an issue with sweets too. So I feel as though the parents were actually secretly hiding the sweets from themselves, so that, sometimes, when you put sweets away, it's like out of sight, out of mind. They're less likely to eat it. And so then the kids want sweets, obviously, but they're kids. Like, if you had told them, yeah, we're just going to have one piece of sweets each, they would just have one piece of sweets each. But once you guys do take out the sweets, you guys are probably letting them have more than they should. You're like, oh, okay, today's a sweet day. Y'all can have sweets. Like, you're probably hiding it from yourselves too, because you guys are not supposed to be eating sweets, but you'll use the kids as an excuse to have sweets more often than you should, so it's better to just lock it away. Yeah, hiding food is that mentality. You shouldn't be hiding stuff from yourself. Like, you should be able to know how much you should and shouldn't be having of whatever the food is. Another fat mentality thing that they were doing in this show that I noticed was the daughter was constantly comparing herself to her sister. Comparison is fat mentality. When you're fat, you're always worried about, what someone else is eating, how this person has a faster metabolism than you, how that person is able to eat junk, why shouldn't you be able to eat junk, how this person is, that's that mentality. You don't see people who are living a fit or healthy lifestyle running around worried about what everyone else is eating, like, oh, this person eats this much junk food, so I can eat this much junk food. This person, no, they know what they want to do for their own health and fitness goals, and they do that. They keep track of their own food intake. They're not worried about what everyone else's food intaking. Like, the daughter had a huge issue with that. Like, because the sister was eating something, she had to be able to have it too. And it's because she spent a lot of time comparing herself to her sister. Now, we can go deeper into, like, how this is, like, a sign of poor parenting, of, like, them not, reassuring her enough to not feel the need to constantly compare herself to the sister, but that doesn't have anything to do with that mentality. That's more of a parenting issue, which also could seep into your creativity. If you guys want me to discuss, parenting trauma that can seep into your creative endeavors and things like that, I can make a separate video on that. But yeah, comparing yourself often is fat mentality. When you leave fat mentality, you should never, ever be comparing yourself. You know what you're up to. You have your own creative journey. You have your own life journey. You have your own path. You have your own lane. You understand what you're up to. So you don't care what this creative person is making, what this person has been able to succeed at, what this person was able to do. No, that's fat mentality. That's seeping into your creativity too. Don't do that. That is going to get you nowhere, okay? Like, even for example, once they finally started the diet, obviously the sister is not on a diet too, because she's thin. Like, she's fit. Like, she's actually in really good shape. She plays sports. She eats healthy, all these sorts of things. But because she wanted to support her sister and her parents as they were trying to lose weight, she did join in on them on, like, dieting a little bit more and, like, doing the exercises with them when it was time to go to the gym. She was like, oh, yeah, I'll go to the gym too. Like, I don't care. Like, she was just being active with them because she was just like, I want you guys to get to the point that I'm already at. So she was joining in on them. So then they had a little bit of bread in the house, but they had gotten rid of a lot of the other junk type foods that they had in the house. And the sister was like having a piece of bread, like a small piece of bread. And then the parents came in, and they're like, oh, my goodness, like, who ate the bread? Like, there's so much bread missing. Now, see, this is why we don't buy this type of stuff, because then we buy it, and then you guys eat all of this bread. Like, we're supposed to be on a diet. And then the fat daughter is like, well, she had bread, so I had some too. We both have some. What's the big deal? And then the daughter, the daughter who's not fat, is like, wait a second. I'm not trying to lose weight. Like, my goal here isn't to lose weight. If I want to have a little piece of bread, I should be able to have a little piece of bread. It's not like I ate the whole loaf. If she can't control herself around bread, yeah, true, maybe she shouldn't have bread. But it's like, it's not to me of like now I'm being punished and demonized for having a piece of bread when it's like my issue isn't with bread. My weight is not something I'm trying to lose. I'm like happy with the weight I'm at. I'm trying to actually just keep maintaining where I'm at. I don't want anything different in my size. And it's just like she's right though. It's like she has the ability to see bread, have a small piece of bread, and keep it pushing. She doesn't need to hide bread from herself. She doesn't need to throw away a whole thing of bread because she doesn't have that mentality. And I feel as though the fact that they were even trying to start her weight loss with that type of mentality of like, you know, we're going to like not buy certain things and hide certain things is fat mentality. But even more severely, her needing to have bread just because she sees her sisters having bread, even though she knows her goals right now doesn't include bread, is fat mentality. It's like, girl, you know you're not supposed to have bread. Just because your sister had bread, you're so worried about making sure you guys are always up to par at the same amount of foods. She gets to have bread, I get to have bread, that you're not focusing on your own journey. That's fat mentality, bro. I thought that was a really big one that I needed to point out, especially for creatives, because that does seep into our regular understanding of like, what are we doing on our own creative journey and not comparing our creative journey to other creatives, okay? Don't worry about others. That's fat mentality. Okay, another fat mentality thing is overly worried about appearances. So, like, for example, this girl has this thing where it's like the minute she started the diet, she was immediately saying, yeah, this time next year I'm going to look exactly like my sister. We're going to be the same size, so ha, ha, ha. Da-da-da-da. No. Girl, you haven't even lost 2 pounds. You haven't lost a pound yet. You're already worried about what you're going to look like next year. I think overly worrying about appearances and how things are going to be perceived by others and things like that is very fat mentality. And I think she did get that from her mom. Like, it was passed on fat mentality because the mom did have an issue with overly worrying about how things were perceived and appearances rather than what it actually was. Like, when you're overly just worried about what other people think about things versus what is actually going on in front of you, that is fat mentality. A signal I got from the mom that she was overly worried about appearances is that one thing that the daughter complained about is that how every time they're out, the mom shows off the fit daughter and kind of ignores the big daughter. Like, she doesn't really, like, say anything about the big daughter. It's kind of like, oh, yeah, there's the other daughter. But, yeah, have you met my daughter? This is her. So she's always kind of showing off the one daughter and then kind of, you know, ignoring the other daughter, which is like, yeah, I could see how that type of, you know, feeling hurt, especially when the daughter's already constantly comparing herself to the sister. It's like, and you know that your mom is just worried about appearances all the time. It's like, yeah, appearances is gonna be the make or break for you. Like that is gonna seep into every part of your life, like into the kitchen and your weight and what you're eating, as well as, you know, whatever your journey is as far as your life path goes. Oh, this was a fat mentality thing that I didn't bring up when I was talking about comparison and worried about what others are eating and stuff like that. But this is a big thing that the daughter did that I was like, oh, no. We're deep into this, sister. We got to get you fixed up. She was like, one day trying to confront her mom about not following the diet. And she was like, oh, you have Twix in your room. I already saw you have sweets upstairs. You've been eating this, that, and the third. I know it. See, girl, we can't save you if you're going to keep doing this. Like, that's fat mentality. How do you know that the mom has sweets upstairs in her, like, drawer somewhere? Like, it was somewhere hidden where it's like, how do you even know that there's sweets there? Like, why are you even worried about that? Because you even saw on the thin sister's face when the daughter brought up that the mom had sweets upstairs, she was like, wait, huh? What are you even talking about right now? The other daughter had no clue that there was sweets upstairs. But fat mentality, of course, you keeping track of every single sweet, every snack, every little thing that exists in this entire house. You know where it is. You won't let anybody bring something with calories into this house without you knowing about it. Like, why are you so worried about what everyone else is doing so much that you know where every sweet in the house exists? because you're waiting to eat it. Like, that's that mentality. You're just so worried about every single piece of sugar in this house. Like, dang, girl, she sniffed it out or something. I'm like, dang. Jeez, can't even keep a Snicker in the drawer for later. Like, what if I just bought it? Because it's like, this is something that I do personally. I don't know what is the opinion on this or whether this is that or not. Like, actually, like, that's a good, like, little question of, like, what's y'all's judgment on this? Is this fat mentality or not? But one thing that I do is sometimes if I'm craving something that I know, like, I'm not really trying to have because it's, like, processed or, like, just, like, I just know I'm not going to feel good after eating that, I'll still buy it. Like, if in my brain, I just keep getting the thought of salt and vinegar chips. My head keeps just thinking about it. I'll go to the store, buy it, and then just put it in the drawer. Like, I'll say to myself, obviously, if you want to eat it, you can eat it. It's not a big deal, but it's here. Like, now you have it. You keep thinking about salt and vinegar chips. You won't stop. Salt and vinegar chips in my head. Here, girl, eat it if you want to. Have it. Like, I don't care anymore. Like, just take it. And then most times after I buy it, like, suddenly the voice goes away. Like, I don't even want it anymore. I don't even need it. It'll just sit in the cupboard. Like, if I'm constantly keep thinking about, M&Ms, I want some M&Ms, I'll go to the store, buy some M&Ms, and I might not even ever open it. Or I might open it, eat one or two, and it'll just sit there forever. Like, I buy snacks all the time that I literally never eat. And I don't mind spending the money. It's like a couple of bucks for whatever the snack is, just so I can have peace in my brain. Like, dang, like, I just want my brain to be clear, like, so I can have freedom to think about the things that I actually am truly pursuing, I don't want salt and vinegar chips to keep throwing in my mind, or Doritos, or pizza, or whatever the random junk is that is, like, I don't even want to call it junk, because then that's negative association to food. That mentality, guys. Don't be negatively associating food. But it's true. Like, these foods are processed. Like, I'm not gonna feel the same way I feel after eating an apple as I do after eating, green apple Skittles. Like, it's not the same thing. Just because the flavor says it's the same thing, it's not the same thing. So like, for me, I'd rather buy the food to have mental clarity than to, like, deprive myself of having it just because it's, like, not good for me. If I really truly want it, at least now my brain knows if you want it, it's in the cupboard. It's not a thing where you have to go to the store anymore. Like, it's here. Eat it if you want. It's no big. And also, one day of me eating chips or me eating pizza or me eating this, it's like, it's not gonna do anything to me. I'll be fine. My body will bounce back the next day. Your body is like a machine. It refreshes every day. It's like a game. It's like a video game. You can refresh it. I mean, obviously, to an extent. Don't see taking advice to extremes. I've noticed that one lately is fat mentality. Like, the minute someone tells you, "Oh yeah, keto will help you lose weight," boom, you're like, "All things keto." That's fat mentality. I find, like, extreme level, like, ingesting advice is very fat mentality. Like, you should hear keto and be like, maybe I might try that out, and slowly try it out and see what it's saying. Maybe a week, maybe 2 days. If you feel a little better, try it, continue it. If you don't feel better, don't continue. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? But, like, extremely being like, "Oh, this person runs every day, so I'm going to run every day, and I'm going to look exactly like them." That's not even how genetics work. Even if you did run every day, if you ate the exact same meal as someone next to you every single day and the exact same amount every single day, you guys still wouldn't look the same. So it's just like, that's very fat mentality. But, I feel like I'm going on a tangent. Where was I even at? I was just discussing about how, like, how she's just overly worried about the sweets that the mom had. It's just like, girl, you don't even know if she was going to eat that or not. Dang. Like, relax. Like, I feel like it's fine if you're on a weight loss journey to buy junk food. Like, just don't eat a crazy amount of it. Like, if you used to eat an entire bag of Doritos, now eat half. Like, once you get to the point where eating half is regular to you and you're still trying to lose weight, now eat, like, just a couple of chips. Like, you shouldn't be severely changing your eating habits if you're trying to lose weight. You should just be doing a bit less than what you previously were. If you eat McDonald's every day and you're trying to lose weight, cutting off McDonald's completely might be the worst decision you could make. You should now only be eating McDonald's 3 days a week, but you can have it 2 days a week. Nothing will happen to you. You just went from eating it 7 days a week. Like, come on now. You'll be at least a little better. Like, So I just felt like, yeah, that's really bad mentality. Okay, yeah, associating weight loss with outside embarrassment, because one of the things that they were doing that was a really red flag was like, oh, like, you know, they were like embarrassed about their weight. As far as like, this is the thing I was talking about with appearances. Like, the reason that they were worried about their weight wasn't because the health of like, hey, like I'm like 300 pounds, like that's super unhealthy. I could like get a disease or get diabetes or like, you know, get my leg cut off. No, none of that was really their biggest concern when it was coming to their weight. Their entire concern with their weight was like, now I'll finally look the way I want to look and wear what I want to wear, and people will see me a certain way, which is like, not to say that's not something you should be excited for and an additive for losing weight, but at the end of the day, the weight we're talking about you're at is like a super duper health concern. So that should be your focus right now. You're not at a weight where it should be for appearances. Like, we can talk, if you only needed to lose a little 5 to 10, then we can talk about appearances. But like, you're talking about losing a good 100 to more, like whatever range they were in. I don't know, but close to 100 pounds. Like, come on now. Like, health is your focus right now. You are not in the appearance game. Like, that was fat mentality. Fat mentality to me is only worrying about your weight when it comes to flexing on people about your level of weight that you're at. Like, that's fat mentality. And that seeps into creativity too. I'll put that as an example of like, you're only worried about getting better at like, you know, drawing so that you can show everyone that you know how to draw. Or like, you're only worried about, you know, being a good at like a instrument so that you can show everybody that you know how to play an instrument. That is seeping into fat mentality of like, you're only learning and doing these creative pursuits for outside validation. You're never going to get to the point where you're superior than anyone else in that whole sector if you're only worried about improvement for what those people are going to think. You need to be worried about it because you just want to be better than you were before. You want to be better. Do you see what I'm trying to say? Like, it's like these things seep into other parts of our mentality that we're not even noticing. You know, it's actually, it's severe. Yeah, and in line with that, worried about how much her sister weighs before she even lost a single pound. Like, fat mentality, Booski. You don't even know how to draw yet, and you have a friend who's an artist, and you're like, oh, I can't wait to learn how to do this so I can be better than them. You can't even do a dang sketch. What are we talking about right now? You already feeling like you want to be bigger than them. Wake up. Okay, fat mentality is deciding how much you eat of something based off the health level. So it's like, oh, okay, because we're having salad, then I get to have a big salad. Like, I get to have a big amount. Oh, because we're having pizza, then I'll only have a little bit of pizza. Oh, because we're having this, then I'll have this much amount. Deciding your portion based off the health of the food is fat mentality. You shouldn't be deciding your portions off of how healthy the food is. The portion should be decided by how hungry you are. Now, what you're eating, that should be decided by, you know, what you need. Like, you know, oh, I need protein, I need this, I need that. Whatever it is, health-wise, that your concern is, that what you need to be targeting, that should be how you decide what you eat. But how much you eat is based off your hunger levels. Not about if this food is healthy, so now I get to pig out. Like, no, that's fat mentality. You shouldn't be basing what you eat off of the health level of the food. Because one of the things that was going on with the parents of why they were overweight wasn't even because they ate a lot of unhealthy food. Obviously, like we said, the mom had Twix upstairs or something like that. So it's like, yeah, they were eating unhealthy food probably a bit more than they should have, but they weren't, like, they were pretty health conscious of parents, which is why they were able to breed at least one sick kid. Like, at least they were bringing vegetables into the house, like, they were having healthy meals, things like that. But it wasn't that they weren't eating healthy, it was that they were eating too much healthy food, which was one thing that the parents had to break out of once they started their health journey. It was that, okay, guys, you guys are eating healthy still, but you're eating eating too much healthy food. So we're gonna have smaller portions. We're gonna eat less of this, less of that. We're gonna take away these certain foods that you're eating too often. This, that, and the third. It's healthy, but you're eating too much of it, so let's stop. Eating food based off the health level of the food is fat mentality. This whole volume eating conversation that we have all the time, this whole you'll get around certain people who have fat mentality and they'll be like, oh yeah, but this is salad, so you can have as much as you want. Oh good, we're eating chicken today and it's, oven baked, it's not fried, so, we can eat as much as we want because it's healthy. Oh, we're having this today, so it's all good and you guys don't even have to worry about the amount you eat. Eat as much as you want. Those little conversations is what breeds fat mentality and is how a lot of parents end up passing on fat mentality to their kids that, would have maybe been healthy if they weren't learning that, oh, I base what I eat off of how much I eat of food off of the health level of the food. No, 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 no. Eat until you're satisfied and stop. Don't just eat food because it's healthy. That's very fat mentality, and it seeps into other parts of your life, because then you start thinking that anything positive you do, you have to do it to an extreme. Like living life, I've noticed that that's what really the biggest thing that fat people go through is that they live life in such extremes. Like everything has to be extreme to them. It's like, oh, if I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna eat an extreme amount. If I'm gonna do this type of fitness, I'm gonna do an extreme version of fitness. Like doing things to an extreme level is fat mentality. So it's like, don't just base your food decisions off of the type of food it is. And I think all these things, all these fat mentality things that they had passed on to the big daughter is why she was big versus the other daughter was not big, because for one, she didn't compare herself to her sister. She didn't care what the sister was up to. She knows what she's doing, She's like, oh yeah, we're having sweets. Like, I'm just going to eat a piece. I don't need the whole thing. Like, you know what I'm trying to say? Like, she was like, oh yeah, I know I'd rather eat healthy, like, other than these processed foods. Like, she just was like not falling into the trap of a lot of these fat mentality things and was more listening to the positive things that her parents had passed on to them, which was like healthy meals and things like that. She just focused on that side of things and focused on herself. Like one thing you notice about the sister, she never was worried about what everyone else was eating. She never was worried about what their health journey was. She was so individually focused. Like her sister never worked out. There was a moment where the fit sister is working out in front of her sister, and the other sister's just sitting there eating a treat and like watching her sister work out. For all the time that the big sister compares herself to the sister and it's like, oh, she ate it, so I got to eat it. How come when she gets to work out right in front of you, you don't think, oh, I get to work out too? It's like, you're not comparing yourself now. You just always want the things that you feel as though is like special to her that she gets that you don't have to get. But because you correlate fitness as a punishment, you don't compare the fact that she's working out and you're not. It's like always worrying about if someone has something that you don't is so fat mentality. And the sister, she was only focused on herself. She's like, oh yeah, you're going to sit there and eat that treat? Well, I know I need to work out today, so I'm going to sit here and I'm going to work out. It's like worrying about yourself is very anti-fat mentality. That's the first place you should start if you're worried about, if you're thinking in your head whether or not you have that mentality. But yeah, I think that's like kind of everything I wanted to go over with episode 2. I only saw 2 episodes of this show, so I might not do another episode, but I will link the episode of this second episode listed below. But this was really interesting. If you like my little topic of fat mentality and what is versus isn't fat mentality, like the video. Make sure you're engaging with my page just so, we can build more and have a community here of people and, get more in-depth into these different topics I'm going to be bringing you guys. Like, I have so many different topics that I want us to discuss and go more in-depth about. So if you guys don't engage, I won't know what you want to see me talk about. Okay? All right. See you guys tomorrow.